Surviving one atomic bomb? Statistically, you're toast. The Hiroshima blast killed 140,000 people. So surviving two? That's supposed to be impossible. And yet, one man pulled it off. Meet Tsutomu Yamaguchi, just 3 kilometers from ground zero, and lived to tell the tale. But here's the kicker. He wasn't even supposed to be there. Yamaguchi was in Hiroshima on a business trip. The bomb caught him on his bicycle, throwing him into a ditch. He suffered severe burns and temporary blindness. Yet somehow, he made it back to Nagasaki. What was he doing in Hiroshima that morning? He was on a business trip, cycling to work when the sky erupted in a blinding flash. The bomb had detonated 600 meters above the city. The flash was searing, like 1,000 suns. The blast wave hurled him into a ditch. He was temporarily blind. But here's the mechanism. The concrete wall beside him absorbed the initial heat, sparing him from instant cremation. His skin was burned, his clothes in tatters, but he was alive. Around him, Hiroshima was a smoldering ruin. An estimated 140,000 people would die. Yamaguchi wasn't one of them, thanks to that wall blocking the worst of the radiation. How did he get back to Nagasaki? He boarded a train. The journey stretched into a nightmare. He sat in agony, bandages soaked, the train crawling through a wasteland. The mechanism of survival. His body, though burned, was still functional enough to move. He arrived in Nagasaki on August 8th. The city was intact. He went to work the next morning, still bandaged. He was telling his boss about Hiroshima when, flash. The second bomb hit. The mechanism. His proximity to a desk shielded him from the blast wave. He thought he was safe. But on August 9th, as he described the Hiroshima horror, the sky flashed again. Another bomb, another 3 kilometers from ground zero. He was struck a second time. The mechanism, diving under his desk, saved him from the collapsing building. Fat Man killed an estimated 74,000 people by the end of 1945. Yamaguchi survived again. How? Pure luck? Or something else? He was thrown to the ground again. His burns worsened. He stumbled home to find his wife and son unharmed. He had survived 2 atomic bombs, the only person on Earth. What was the long-term cost? The bombs didn't stop hurting. Yamaguchi's body was wrecked. Severe burns, radiation poisoning, and his son suffered from chronic radiation sickness. The family's genes had been rewritten by the fallout. He stayed silent for decades. He didn't want to relive the horror, but in 2004 he wrote a memoir. He finally decided the world needed to know. Why was he officially recognized? In 2009, Japan officially recognized him as a double hibakusha, the only person ever certified as a survivor of both bombings. He became an advocate for nuclear disarmament. His message, the atomic bomb should never be used again. He became a symbol of the horror of nuclear war. He traveled, spoke, begged the world to disarm. But surviving the first blast was just the beginning of an impossible story. Yamaguchi's survival defied every statistical model. The heat near ground zero reached 3,000 degrees Celsius, yet he was shielded by a concrete wall. His burns were severe, but he could still move. The train ride to Nagasaki took over 24 hours. Yamaguchi sat in agony, his skin peeling, his eyesight blurry. The train passed through cities that were still intact, a stark contrast to the hell he had left behind. He wondered if he would ever see his family again. He arrived in Nagasaki on August 8th. The city was untouched, bustling with life. For a moment, he felt safe. He went to the hospital, got his wounds treated, and even managed to sleep. But the calm was deceptive. The second bomb was already on its way. On August 9th, Yamaguchi was at his workplace, still bandaged, recounting his ordeal to his boss. Suddenly, the room filled with a blinding white light. He dove under his desk. The blast wave shattered windows and collapsed walls. He was hit again. He survived the second blast, but his body absorbed a massive dose of radiation. His white blood cell count plummeted. He suffered from nausea, hair loss, and fatigue. The doctors were amazed he was still alive, but the radiation would haunt him for decades. The radiation didn't just affect Yamaguchi. His son, born years later, suffered from chronic health problems. Leukemia and other cancers plagued the family. The atomic bombs had rewritten their DNA. Yamaguchi carried the guilt of passing on this invisible legacy. For decades, Yamaguchi suffered from cataracts. hearing loss, and chronic pain. He underwent multiple surgeries. His body was a living testament to the horrors of nuclear war. Yet he never complained. He considered himself lucky to be alive, even if it meant enduring constant suffering. For 60 years, Yamaguchi kept his story to himself. He didn't want to be seen as a freak or a victim. But in 2004, he wrote a memoir. He realized that if he didn't speak, the world might forget the true cost of nuclear weapons. His voice became a warning. He began giving interviews and speeches. His message was simple. Nuclear weapons must never be used again. He spoke at the United Nations, met with world leaders, and shared his story with schoolchildren. His frail body carried the weight of his words. Yamaguchi was the only person officially recognized as a survivor of both bombings. He carried the burden of representing countless others who perished. He felt a duty to ensure their deaths were not in vain. His story became a cornerstone of the anti-nuclear movement. In his final years, Yamaguchi grew weaker, but his resolve never wavered. He said, "Having experienced both bombings, I am determined to fight for a world without nuclear weapons." He knew the threat was still real. His legacy is a warning that we must never forget. But what exactly shielded him from the fireball? Yamaguchi was cycling between two concrete buildings when the bomb detonated. The wall absorbed the initial heat flash, sparing him from instant cremation. He was thrown into a ditch, but the structure blocked the worst of the radiation. Without that wall, he would have been vaporized like thousands around him. The train to Nagasaki was a slow crawl through a charred landscape. Yamaguchi sat in a crowded car, his skin blistered and oozing. Passengers stared at his burns, but no one spoke. The train stopped frequently to clear debris. Every jolt sent waves of pain through his body. He wondered if his family was alive, or if Nagasaki had already been bombed. Stepping off the train in Nagasaki felt like entering another world. The city was bustling, shops open, children playing. For a few hours, Yamaguchi allowed himself to hope. He visited a hospital where doctors treated his wounds with pity. He slept that night in a shelter, dreaming of his wife and son. But the calm was a cruel illusion. On August 9th, Yamaguchi was recounting his Hiroshima story to his boss when the room exploded in light. He instinctively dove under his desk. The blast wave tore through the building, shattering windows and collapsing ceilings. His boss was thrown across the room. Yamaguchi emerged from the rubble, his bandages soaked with fresh blood. He had survived again. In the weeks after, Yamaguchi's body began to fail. His white blood cell count dropped dangerously low. He suffered from relentless nausea and his hair fell out in clumps. Doctors were baffled he was still alive. The radiation had penetrated his bones, marrow, and organs. He would spend the rest of his life battling its effects, a slow poison that never left. Years later, Yamaguchi's son Katsutoshi was diagnosed with leukemia. The doctors linked it to the radiation exposure his father had suffered. Yamaguchi was consumed with guilt. He had passed on the invisible scars of the bomb to his own child. The bombs didn't just kill, they rewrote the future. His family became a living testament to the long reach of nuclear terror. Yamaguchi died in 2010 at 93, but his message lives on. The atomic bomb should never be used again. Remember Tsutomu Yamaguchi, twice bombed, twice survived, forever a voice for